Have you ever noticed that sometimes clients can be very sad, upset, frustrated, but they're still open, they're still present, they're still self-connected, connected to their partner, and then there will be times where the energy will shift and it goes much more towards blame or defensiveness or withdrawing in some way. In this video, I'm going to share about a really important foundational element of learning to work with reactivity, which is the power of clients simply learning when that shift happens, what reactivity actually is, and when they're in that. So let's talk a little bit about reactivity. Reactivity is the body and mind's rapid mobilization when it perceives threat to one or more needs. You'll oftentimes see three main signs, or clients can begin to notice three main signs that will let them know when they're entering into reactivity. Them being a change in physiology, like a tightening or a breath constriction, or a rapidly racing heart or heat in the face, a narrowing of view. You might start to have thoughts like, I'm right, you're wrong, or this is hopeless, right? And the other can be a loss of access to creativity or compassion or the broader perspective. It's oftentimes that's the thing they'll recover maybe the next day, when they come back from this moment. It's like, oh, I see now what was lost in that moment in time. So in these moments, the nervous system is really trying to protect, not connect. So this, of course, is going to change how clients are experiencing themselves and how they're going to be able to show up in relationship. So I'm going to give a couple of examples about that in a moment, more about what reactivity can look like. Before I do, in contrast, I want to talk about not reactive responses. Not reactive responses allow for strong emotions, but with presence and curiosity intact. So someone can be crying, they can feel angry, or they can even feel scared while they're still staying open to themselves and to their partner. So a simple way to distinguish between the two is going to be reactivity protects, whereas non-reactive responses connect, as a simple way of putting this. So let's talk about a couple of classic ways that reactivity can look. There are a number of ways reactivity can look. Sometimes reactivity can appear as a momentary flash, right? That defend energy, the fight, flee, shut down. But it can also be so pervasive that it can be mistaken more almost as personality or how a person just is. One example is something we've probably all seen, which is people pleasing, right? This can be a chronic reactive pattern that is functioning throughout the day or throughout session to protect against an anticipated threat against the need for maybe love or acceptance. Again, the importance here is it's an anticipated threat around that need. So clients are generally going to have one or more of these kind of tender needs that are associated more with pain than with nourishment. And around these needs, there's oftentimes going to be these protective strategies that form to try to help reduce the pain. And it's really helpful for clients to learn about their own tender needs and the chronic reactive patterns that built around those needs. So this is oftentimes a really powerful gateway for more compassion and care in the relationship when people know that about themselves and can begin to take a different responsibility with how they're going to engage with these needs, and it helps demystify what's going on with my partner over there when they're in reactivity. Oh, under all this behavior I don't enjoy is this very tender need. That's what's actually up right now in this moment and needs care for before we talk about the vacation or whatever it might be. So another form of reactivity that can be a starting point for disconnection is what we call a nourishment barriers, right? So let's say the same client who does the people pleasing and has this tender need around love and acceptance. They're sick, they're having a bad day, their partner comes over to care for them, to comfort them, to get close, right? But instead of letting the nourishment in of the very thing they want, love and acceptance, this person starts to feel uneasy. They maybe even push it away, right? Inside, they could be telling themselves something like, how could they love me right now? How could they enjoy me when I'm like this? I'm not being shiny, I'm not contributing, I'm not making it easier for them, right? Earlier in life, pleasing and performing for others protected them from pain around the need for love not being met. As long as they were pleasing, they could maybe get a sense of this kind of love. But now that very same pattern that's become a little more chronic becomes a barrier to receiving the very love they would probably actually like as they get to open up to new ways of being with it, which is to not have to be so shiny and to still be able to be loved, the thing that was missed in the first place. So this again is another reason why it's so important to help our clients to identify and recognize these familiar patterns of reactivity, again, whether they're arising in the heat of the moment or these more long-standing habits. So when clients can pause and name what's happening, they're going to begin to have choice. And from there, they can explore new strategies for how to get this underlying need met. And that moment of recognition is going to become a really important gateway for liberation and opening up to a life of nourishment that they oftentimes didn't even know was possible and maybe have never really experienced before. As a therapist, I find it to be such a joy to work with and witness clients when they get a glimpse of that liberation, when they start to feel that possibility in their bones and they begin to trust, oh my gosh, this need could get met in ways that they hadn't expected. Therapy can then really take a shift towards becoming about expanding the capacity for love, for different choices in life, for more connection. So simply recognizing reactivity is very essential for this transformation. So as therapist, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on your own experience around this. Feel free to pause along the way if you'd like. How do you help clients to notice and name reactivity as it emerges, either in flashes or in chronic reactive patterns? How might you already support your clients in pausing, building awareness about what's happening, and opening the doorway to new ways for their needs to be met? In MCD Therapy, we offer 6 specific and doable skills to help clients learn how to recognize their own reactivity. It's a clear map for you and your clients in this process and therapy. If what I'm sharing resonates with you, I'd love to welcome you to our workshops where we're going to dive deeper into these practices. I look forward to seeing you there. And as always, until next time, thank you for your contributions in our community, and let's continue to lead with love.